Now that we've created our project and imported it into Subversion, we're ready to write our first program. And going with the historic Hello World, that's what we're going to do. Now the first thing is we are going to create a named package. You'll be hearing me harangue about this throughout the course, but all Java classes should be put in named packages. Nothing should be ever put in this default package here. And there are reasons for that, but right now just kind of write it off to your instructor being OCD. So to create a package, we select source packages, right click, and say new Java package. If you don't see, you should see that. If you don't see that, go to other, and here under Java there will be these various selections such as Java package. And then however you get there, click next. We're going to call our package CS2173. And before you go on, notice that this is lowercase. This is a convention that Java programmers have, that package names are lowercase. It's not followed 100% of the time, but that's the recommended convention. So even though our project uses uppercase, your package name should always use lowercase names. And if you do something else, it can, if you use uppercase, it can sort of be fixed, but it just kind of looks weird, and I'll complain about it. Okay, so finish, and you'll see that that package has been created right here underneath the source packages. Now, to create the actual code, again, we now right-click on the package that you're going to put it in, and then we'll say new, and then what we want is the Java main class. And again, the Java main class doesn't seem to show up here. So again, go to other, and let's see Java class interface, blah, blah, blah. Here is Java main class. We click next, and we give it a name. Again, the infamous Hello World. This goes back to the 1960s and the C programming language and all kinds of other historical dinosaurs and anomalies. So we'll finish that. And what it does is it gives you a number of things that were not available in the early days of Java when we just had regular plain old text editors. So when a class is in a package, then the first line has to specify what that package is. Again, NetBeans does that for you. It gives us these things. These are called JavaDoc. We'll talk about what that is about. But the main thing is this method right here, public static void main. What does all that mean? We'll explain all of that as the time comes. For now, all you need to know is that public static void main with a string array as its arguments is the starting place for Java. The Java virtual machine looks for this method and then starts executing from there. Now, the Hello World program, of course, all it does is print Hello World to the console. And here's how we do that in Java. It's a lot more typing than you may be experienced in other languages, but the incantation is system out.println, and then open and close and just say hello world. Okay, so again, system.out.println, that's in lieu of a print statement. As hopefully by the end of the course you'll understand why there's so much verbiage with that, and the string that it gives it in there, hello world, is simply going to print it to the console. Now here we have these again anachronistic icons of floppy disks to save. So we save it now, and then there are at least three or four ways of running the program. Okay, one is we can right-click anywhere inside the text and select Run File. The second way is we can select the class over in the Projects navigation pane and again select Run File. Or we can run the project from this little green button. That'll require a little bit more. Or we can say run project from the menu. One thing to notice is that this little, see the little green arrow on the icon for Hello World? That indicates that there is a main method and therefore it can be executed directly. So let's run it from the green arrow. Let's just sort of click that and see what happens. So what we say is it says it doesn't have a main class set yet. So select the main class. There's only one to select. We'll select that, and then it whirs. And then notice here that at the bottom, an output window has been created, and it has printed Hello World as we specified. So that is our very first program. And to get to this point, why is Hello World the first program? Well, in order to have it successfully complete, then you need to have created the source code, compiled it, run it, and made sure that it ran correctly. And there's just a lot of pieces that need to fit together in order for just that to be happening. And the simplest thing you can do without any complicated code is to just print something to the console as we've done here. And the thing is, if we wanted to do anything more complicated and it didn't work, then we wouldn't know if it was something intrinsic to running the program or it was something that we actually did. Okay, so when we get to this point, now we've run our first program, and now we can start moving ahead with some actual coding. But before we do so, there's something that's very important, and that has to do with subversion that I spoke about in the earlier video. Now, you will notice that the Hello World is now in green. And in fact, if we hover on it, it says it's locally new. Now, what that means is that Subversion has noticed that we have added this to the locally, but we have not committed it. So if we right-click on our project and we go down to Subversion, Show Changes, then down here in a little tab, it shows the changes that we have. Now, notice that there's green and blue. The blue indicates something which is locally modified. And in case we didn't know that, it lists it here. Green, as I mentioned before, is locally new. So this is the difference between our local project and the project as it exists on the server. So what we want to do is, assuming that we're happy with what we have, we want to commit. So, and we can commit from here by clicking on this little icon on the very right. It says Commit All. We get one last shot. We can actually selectively commit some of these. We actually want to commit all of it, and we type a little commit message. So this is the Hello World. Okay, so we've successfully written our Hello World. We always write a little commit message that just says a little bit about what you did. And then we commit it, and it grinds and whirs, and then now it says no local or remote changes, and that means that it's been uploaded to the server. And we can check on that by, again, right-clicking and looking at versioning info. And you will notice that now, okay, we're up to date. And notice that my revision number has gone up to 124. Again, yours will be much lower. Yours by this point will be maybe a 3 or 4, depending on how much you've done. Okay, so now the advantage of this is that we can you can totally if you want to go to another computer, you can just check all this stuff out. I'll show you how to do that at another place, and basically not lose anything that you've ever had, And furthermore, the definitive version of what you're working on is always going to be on the server. Again, this is a very server-centric perspective. It's not one that's shared by all. In particular, the Git advocates are big on local, differences, and again, that's a terrific approach in certain circumstances. For what we're doing here, we are going to be using a server-oriented system, Subversion, as I have mentioned, and that is the advantage of it. So whether you're working on a different machine, if you're working on a different machine, then the first thing you do is check out from the server, work on it, and then you commit, and then when you come back to this other machine, you simply update it, and I'll be going through all of that. But for now, again, just to review, we've written our first program, we've confirmed that it has executed, and we have committed that change to our Subversion repository.